You know, I'm always skeptical of horror movies being released in January. This is always a dumping ground month, and we have another horror film here called TheDevilConspiracy. Is this film any good, or should you just skip it? Find out my thoughts next. A powerful biotech company has breakthrough technology, allowing them to clone history's most influential people with just a few fragments of DNA. Behind this company is a bunch of Satanists that steal the shroud of Christ, putting them in possession of Jesus' DNA. The clone will serve as the ultimate offering to the devil. Archangel Michael comes to Earth and will stop at nothing to end the devil's conspiracy. The film stars Alice Orr-Ewing, Doyle, Eveline Hall, Joe Anderson, and James Faulkner, and many others, and was directed by Nathan Frankowski. It's definitely January. The Devil Conspiracy has just came out, and going into this film, I did watch a trailer, and I did say when I did my actual roundup of different movies that were coming out for this month, this movie honestly looked really terrible in the trailers. The CGI, it looks like it's from like 2010, from like the last Witch Hunter kind of CGI with Vin Diesel, and it just wasn't something that I really thought was going to be any good. And I was honestly right. I really always try to put positive thoughts when I go to see a film, and I'm really struggling to find anything that I really liked about this film other than the fact that this is a horror film and I like this kind of genre, but there really isn't anything positive that I can really think of. So all I can really say is this is going to be a lot of negatives about this film. So the biggest thing that I can say about this film is the characters themselves. They feel very nameless. I can't really honestly tell you most of the names of the characters in this film because they don't really do a good job of introducing these characters. It's a very convoluted story. There are parts in this film where I was like, did I take a nap? Did I miss something here? They don't really do a good job of explaining things. It's kind of like a fantasy horror film. The film starts off with the devil being in hell, and you have this Archangel Michael who traps him there. This biotech company, it cuts later to them. They are cloning all these famous people. They're this powerful biotech company. So I can say that maybe that's a positive because it's kind of unique, I guess, in a way. You have these cult of Satanists that break into the Vatican and they take the Shroud of Turin, which has Jesus Christ DNA on it, and they're going to use this DNA to clone a baby for Lucifer. And they kidnap these 5 different women to try to see who is the best fit to actually fertilize an egg so Lucifer can have a baby. And that's really the basic plot of this film. There isn't a lot of blood or violence. There is one scene, I guess, that could make it R where it does have some blood and gore, and I will give them some props for that, but it's really short-lived, and it's around the last 10-15 minutes of the film. The CGI in this film is absolutely laughable. So you have one scene where you have this priest who is supposed to save this woman that is getting fertilized with Lucifer's baby, and he basically turns into this archangel guy that was in the beginning of the movie, and he gets his DNA basically, and he gets his powers. And the CGI that he has, he turns into this kind of bluish kind of guy, and it looks really stupid. There's another part with CGI where they use this CGI snake, and it goes into different people's noses and mouths and such. It was really laughable. It was really, really bad, guys. Really amateur. I really don't know how this film actually got financially backed. I can really see that this film must have had somebody that knew how to get this film distributed into a theater, because I don't really know how this film is getting a wide release. It's really poor. It's poorer than some of the films that I watched last year in January. It's one of the worst made films that I've really watched in the theater in quite some time, and one of the darkest films that I've watched in quite some time. There are a lot of parts in this film where you can't see a damn thing. There's a bunch of people fighting and stuff's going on, and you're just seeing a bunch of really dark screen, and you can't see who's doing what. It's really poor. The lighting is absolutely atrocious. You can't see a damn thing, and the editing and how they wanted to chop this film up, and it just doesn't work for me. It's a complete shit show watching this film. The movie is about an hour and 50 minutes, but it just seems like it's too long. It has a plot that never really comes together. I was hoping that maybe at some point, because there is so much action that they're trying to throw in this film, that we would get some kind of dialogue that would help explain certain things that are going on, because it's a very fast-paced film, but it seems like it's a fast-paced film for no reason, because it doesn't seem like there really is much of an endpoint to this film. It seems like it just keeps going on and on and on. But at the same time, it's a lot of action that seems kind of unnecessary because there isn't any building of characters. I don't know how anyone can get behind any character in this film because, like I said earlier in the review, these characters, they feel really nameless. They don't feel like they really have any kind of identity. They don't feel like they have a purpose to root for such and such or root for a bad guy or a good guy because we're never really invested too much into the characters. We're not really introduced to them at all. You have things that don't really make sense in this film. For instance, you have this guy that looks through a telescope that watches over this kingdom, and it's never really explained why he's doing this. You have hell that has this big old well where if people get to enter hell, they go through this well, and it's kind of just there towards the end of the film. The ending of the film, how they choose to end this film, I was just like, okay, so you basically have this Satan cult that wants to have a baby for Lucifer, and the way that they chose to end this film, it obviously is on a cliffhanger, but at the same time, this woman who is the main leader of this cult, she can't have the baby because she's dried up and she's older, and she is the leader of this cult, and what she decides to do, and the main henchman that she has do this actual thing to end this film. I was just like, so we wasted all this time for this? It really feels like a movie that I would pick up at the Dollar Tree and not know anything about it, and that's really where I think this film is going to end up at some point, because it just isn't a film that really need to be in theaters. I really can't see people really getting into this film. I can't even really recommend this to stream. And maybe if you find this in the Dollar Tree, because it'll probably end up there at some point, maybe buy it for $1.25 and check it out. But I really wouldn't really spend too much on watching this film. It's a waste of your time unless you're just looking for a really crazy film that just doesn't really have a plot that really ever comes together. And it's just not something that I can really recommend. And I'm going to give a score of this film a 0.5 star out of 5. It's just a really bad film, guys. I can't say too much positive about this film. I didn't have a fun time watching this in theaters. And it's January, and we were due for a bad movie, and this is our first bad movie of the year. But thank you guys for watching this review. Let me know in the comments. Did you like this film? Are you going to go check it out? Have you even heard about this film? I would love to know your thoughts if you enjoyed this film, because I don't really see anybody leaving good reviews for this film, so I'd be very curious. If you did like this film, tell me why you liked it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on my next review.